Good evening, everybody. Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 152. Glad to be back with you guys. It's been a minute. Um, Race season gets busy and got a lot of stuff going on here, but certainly miss getting to do these regularly. As we're heading into the off season, we do have a plan to do them on a much more regular basis and knock a bunch of these out. They're great because they're all posted to our YouTube page for future reference, and we refer back to them all the time when guys call with tech questions and want a little more in-depth answer. We've got 150 plus of these things now on our YouTube page. So Tyler spent some time here last week filming some great tech segments that we're going to be able to use and incorporate those in our Monday morning quarterback. So you'll get a little bit of me answering some tech questions and talking, and then some shop videos that will blend in. So do have a good plan going into the off season to get you guys a bunch more episodes. As always, if you have any questions between episodes, certainly reach out on nights that we can't go live. We've been playing past episodes that have been popular and that we refer back to frequently. So, but again, it's great to be back with you guys tonight. If you're having a hard time hearing me, pipe in, make a comment. I tested all the audio equipment before we got going, so I think we're in good shape. But it's been a great end of the season for CSI. We've won 9 of the last 11 USAC National Sprint Car races across 4 or 5 different drivers. So that's been really good. Sunshine was able to wrap up his second consecutive All-Star Championship, and we were proud to be a part of their efforts this season and helping us grow our wing sprint car shock program. Been working really hard on a bunch of new shocks that we're going to have at PRI. So this is going to be the biggest product unveil we've ever had as a company. And I think we have 4 new models of shocks and some other components that we're going to be rolling out in December at PRI. So you can catch us at booth 3639 for that. You'll be able to come by and check out our shop if you get to town Thursday and Friday. The shop will be open regular hours, so be open until 6 on Thursday, until 4 on Friday, and then we'll be down at the PRI show every day. With all the banquets and stuff going on, I don't believe we're going to do an open house, but we are planning a shock seminar this winter here at CSI. So I think shortly after Chili Bowl, late January is some of the dates we're looking at to do a Saturday and a Sunday back-to-back days for a shock seminar. So had a lot of people asking about those. It's been a couple years since we've done one. So I've been in the background working on some new content and trying to get all the information. I think the last one we did was during the very start of the pandemic. I did a Facebook Live, kind of an abbreviated couple-hour shock seminar. So those shock seminars are great if you're wanting to learn more about your suspension package, how to tune it, how to best utilize it, how to customize it for you. Certainly a ton of information we pack into those. So those will be really good. So tonight's topic is preparing for the off season. And I see a couple questions popping up. I'll answer those questions when we get through this topic. So please continue to ask them, and we'll answer all of those for you. Absolutely. So preparing your suspension for the off season. So the first thing to ask yourself is, how many nights or how many race days do you have on your shocks, your springs, and your torsion bars? And torsion bars and shocks are about the same. We recommend 20 to 25 races before shocks get rebuilt, torsion bars get replaced. Springs generally last a lot longer than that in our core markets, quarter midgets, midget sprint cars. We don't put springs through the grind quite like a super late model or even a dirt late model would. You typically can get a couple seasons out of your springs in our application, so 40, 50 races. Make sure they're not bent and they're not showing any major signs of wear. Certainly springs can be rated to make sure that they're still linear and they haven't lost any freestanding height. And torsion bars can be checked as well. Um, I recommend for folks to check their torsion bars if they got bars that are fairly new and they've been in a crash. Great time to check them. Once you get to that 25 race mark, replace them. A torsion bar is a wearable item. Just like a tire on your race car, you just can't see when it wears out like you can a tire on your race car. And I've said this before, and I mean it wholeheartedly. Nothing will wake up a race car like a fresh set of torsion bars. All of a sudden, a half a turn of weight is back making a difference. And fresh torsion bars can really wake a car up that's gone lazy on you. So once you've kind of analyzed where you're at with that stuff, if you're not approaching that number of races, you're not approaching the 20 race mark or so with your shocks, or you're not going to get there right out of the gate at the start of the season. You only have 8 or 10 nights on your shocks. I really would recommend to reach out to your shock manufacturer or tuner and ask them if there's any updates for the shock package you have. So it might seem silly if you got a new set of shocks in the spring and you've already had them, rebuilt here late in the season. Is there anything new? Well, a lot of times there is, and that new stuff becomes available over the off season because we'll spend this late summer, early fall finalizing development on new products, whether it's a new piston, a new base valve, just a new valving combination, a different jet or needle. And those things, once testing's been completed, become available during the off season. So maybe if it's not ready for a rebuild, there might be an update from your shock tuner or shock manufacturer that can help you get a little nicer balance or a little more grip. You think like, man, how year after year after year do these shock guys keep having updates? Are they just scamming me to get my money? And really they're not. I'd say for the most part, if you're dealing with a trustworthy company, it's a moving target. It really is. What won a year ago might not be good enough now, and that's difficult. And you ask anybody that's racing at a really high level, complacency is a bad place to lie. You're going to get chewed up and spit out. So we are constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to make more grip while holding a better platform, more driver comfort. Every few years, a technology trickles down from big car racing, your NASCAR, IndyCar stuff, and that becomes available, and we're able to incorporate some of that. They have some technology out there right now that we just can't package into the shocks that in the price ranges that we're doing them. I mean, it's crazy to think that 12 years ago when we started CSI, I think a non-wing sprint car shock package was about $1,200, and that was a lot of money, and it's over double that now. So it's just gotten more and more expensive. Well, their shocks are, $5,000-$6,000 a piece. So we don't really have room in our market for a $20,000 shock package. Dirt late model shock packages are approaching $6,000 to $8,000, I'm told. So very expensive. Thankfully, those guys are racing for a lot more money right now. But so if it doesn't need to go in for rebuild and there's no updates, a really good cleaning, warm water, simple green, get those things cleaned off, blowed off with air, make sure there's no, the seals don't appear to be leaking or anything like that. Store them in a climate-controlled environment. So definitely don't leave your shocks out in the trailer, especially in the colder climates. The seals will get hard and then you will get some leaking. So keep them in your shop. Try to keep them in a little bit of a warmer condition, 50, 60 degrees. That'll be much nicer on your seals because, a shock's basically a mechanical device with seals and O-rings, and that can fail in extreme conditions. Dirt, grime, that's always why I recommend taking your shocks off your car every race day, washing them, taking really good care of them. So that all of those things will help ensure when the season rolls around in the spring, or if you have some indoor racing, everything really is ready to go. If you have a question mark on that stuff, we dyno all of our customer shocks free of charge. So that's a free service if you're running CSI shocks. and I know some other builders do that as well. We mainly do it because we want to make sure your product is performing at its peak, right? It makes you perform better, which makes our product look better. So it's a service we've always provided. Zach, will our class be virtual? I'm not sure at this point. Again, we do have one posted on our YouTube page if you want to go back and look. The new one's going to have a bunch of new content in it, but that one is a great one to start and watch if you're not in the Indy area or can't be in the Indy area that weekend we're doing it. But I'm not sure if it'll be available virtually or not. Kind of got to get with our video guys and see what their schedule is and how we can maybe facilitate that for you guys. Kevin, great question. So he wants to know, as we're getting things ready, is there something we can do or should do to our shock dyno or testing equipment? So that's a great question. We try to have our dynos serviced and calibrated annually. The style of dyno we use, the Rohrig CTW, those crank style dynos, there's not a lot of mechanical stuff on them that can go wrong. So potentiometer, load cell, the belt is really the only wear item. And then, but yeah, good time to make sure that your belt looks good on your dyno, grease the main bearing there at the crank, get that greased and cleaned, and just give everything a good once over. You can reach out to whoever shock dyno you have and see if they have any updates. We're on the CTW platform now, which is fantastic, and I feel like they have an update like once a month, so we're constantly getting software updates that not only help with little glitches and Windows updates, but more advanced data acquisition stuff and additional ways we can acquire data within our test and customize our tests, and so all that's really good information for sure. Does anybody else have any questions? Again, looking forward to the next few episodes. Tyler filmed some great shop tech content last week, so we'll be incorporating those. We'll go live, show that video. I'll come back and answer those questions. So we did one on helper springs. We got a lot of questions on the different styles of how you block your helper springs, so we have that one. We have one on identifying your shocks and measuring shock length and stuff like that. And then we did one also on how to convert the old style shock adjuster cables, which are still available and will be, to the new QD style, which are very popular with our customers. So we do plan to go to the KKM Give Back race here. I think it's next week. So we'll have our support trailer there at Port City. So that we're looking forward to being there for that event and helping customers there. And then we'll also be at the Winter Nationals in Las Vegas in November. And then that rolls into PRI. And then obviously we do the Tulsa Shootout. So season's winding down, but we still got some big ones to hit before the calendar rolls over. Alex, how long should the Eibach bump spring last? Great question. We honestly haven't used them quite long enough for me to tell you exactly, but I don't think we're putting them through near the stresses, and that's actually a very expensive German wound spring. So I would say you should definitely be able to get a couple seasons out of it, especially in a micro application. Jerry, so this is a quarter midget question. They're mandating a harder left side tire compound next year. They're doing away with the D20 compound and mandating an A35, which is substantially harder. It's the same compound we run on the right side. We've done a little bit of testing. I think shock valving wise, not much different. You are going to have to run your race car a little bit tighter, especially in the springtime when we got colder weather and less grip. So potentially some things are going to need to be adjusted, a little bit more cross weight. I think you might end up running a little bit less air pressure than you have been running with the D tires, but it will be difficult. It will be an adjustment, but it's the same for everybody. But definitely going to have to tighten your car up for sure. Can you run 8-inch shocks on a micro sprint? You have a Sawyer Z-Link. Not without modifying the shock towers. So um, most Sawyers would be a 6-inch front, 7-inch rear in the twin tube stuff. If you're running gas shocks, you need to run a 6-inch rear shock. 7-inch rear gas on a Sawyer is just a little bit too long. So 8-inch, I'm pretty sure you'd be almost bottomed out at ride height. So we always recommend get the thing on the ground, measure how much shaft is showing. On the big car side, we tune with down travels and up travels a lot. But a good safe place is make sure that thing is at least in the middle on a micro. So if it's a 6-inch shock, you should have approximately 3 inches of shaft showing. Zach, I don't have a B ready for Vegas. I still only have 3 cars, so looks like we're going to run all 3 junior classes. There's only 2 Bs, so it seems like a lot of work to just race Tatum and one other person. So I wish there was more of them. I'm glad to see there's 11 junior 160s, though. Ryan, in a limited wing sprint car class with only 1 adjustable twin tube shock allowed, do you recommend bump rubbers? Which corner? Always recommend a bump rubber on the left rear of a wing sprint car. Really allows us to control 2 things. One, the amount of dynamic tilt in the car. So we're going to control how far the left side can go down. And we're also going to keep the frame rail from dragging by doing that. Probably not as big of a deal in a limited as it would be like a 410. But imagine if your left rear goes down too far, it pulls the right rear out of the racetrack. And so the bump rubber is going to keep that tilt where we want it, and it's also going to add left rear drive. So would definitely recommend running a bump rubber on the left rear. There's certain places we run them on the left front. Gosh, I think at Port Royal, guys are running springs like on all 3 of the 4 corners. That's just a unique, big, high-speed racetrack, but definitely the left rear. I always recommend for folks to start with a foam bump rubber and a cup. You're just shooting at the biggest target there with that. It's a great place to start and get your feet wet with bump rubbers and learn your gaps. And if you're off by a 1/4 of an inch, it's not life or death. Once you really get fine-tuned with that, the progressive stuff, whether it's our progressive puck kit or the progressive spring kit, there's some serious advantages there, but it is more complex, and you're shooting at a smaller target, and you got to have your gaps and everything just right. So I never recommend for folks to start with the more complex style. Tyler, running your progressive bump spring kit help a pavement non-wing sprint car? Potentially. We've ran our not progressive spring, but we've ran our progressive pucks on the back of a non-wing car like at Little 500. So when you get the thing full of fuel, it helps keep it from dragging, but it is progressive, and so it doesn't add a ton of spring rate, but it's been really good to be able to run a little bit lower ride height, and kind of that bump rubber helps keep the rails from dragging and getting too low, but then as the fuel load burns off, the thing doesn't get too high in the air because we're starting a little bit lower. So that's something you just would have to experiment with, and I'd be happy to help you with that, but we don't have a ton of experience with the progressive bump spring on a pavement non-wing. But I certainly think, when pavement midgets were really, really big, we were just getting into bump rubbers on the front and running a lot of rebound similar to the stock cars and helping just control the nose and the platform of the front of that car and really helping the car turn. That was really just starting to make good progress when pavement racing got knocked off the USAC schedule. So I haven't seen too many people fool with it yet at Raceway Park as pavement midgets are making a resurgence, but like at Irwindale at Turkey Night and that flat track, there definitely was some gains to be made there with additional front rebound and softer spring on a bump rubber, getting kind of a dual rate spring effect. Anybody else have any questions before we sign off for episode 152? The previous 151 of these are on our YouTube page, so if you have missed them, there's some great topics there. And there's some other tech videos there on our YouTube page. Please subscribe while you're there. We're trying to build that platform, which allows us to do more videos and more tech stuff. And it's something that I really am passionate about. I remember when we were first starting racing, I wish we had the information that's out there and available now. So we really are trying to educate our customers as much as possible. I feel like the more educated our customers are, the better they are with setting stuff up, the better they are with feedback, which helps us progress our product line. And customer feedback the last 2 years is just head and shoulders above where it was when we first started the company, 12 years ago. So we get great feedback on a regular basis for our customers, and we welcome that feedback, whether it be good or bad, because it really does help us improve our product line and improve what we're offering all of you guys. So, all right. Well, we thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic week, and we look forward to catching back up with you potentially again next Monday. We'll know a little more as the week goes on, but just keep an eye on our social media channels Monday. We always try to post if we are running alive that night. So hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.